Okay, folks, we are live. It's a minute to 12 noon. I'll probably flip over just as I'm saying this. Anyway, Blake McKenzie with me here. We're out in Canada, the wilds of Canada. Vancouver Island, both of us, Blake and Victoria. I'm in Nanaimo, but, in large measure, my heart at least is in the United States. I sure love Donald John Trump, who's taken a hit right off the bat from my friend Vinyl Gorilla, having the National Guard on the streets of Washington, D.C., and saying that he's going to expand that to other cities is tyranny. I disagree with you completely. I'll tell you why. If Biden or Obama would have done this or even suggested this, all Republicans would have lost their minds. Of course we would have, because those guys are criminals, and we're learning more about their criminality hour by hour by hour. Unfucking believable what we're dealing with right now. Adam Schiff up to his neck in trouble. We're going to be talking about Adam Schiff. Because it's Donald Trump, nobody's saying a word. Perhaps really wrong. Something's really wrong here. Yeah, you're really wrong here. Oh, people are paying attention. I'm paying attention. I'll tell you what's going on. What if there's more to Trump sending in the National Guard into Washington, D.C. than meets the eye? What if a bunch of arrests are about to go down and planned insurrection was already in play by the Democrats? We now know Nancy Pelosi lied about January 6th. We had the head of the D.C. or National Guard, a high-ranking official, anyway, I'll get the specifics on him. He went and said, hey, we better get the National Guard, or they're available for you. I'm making them available for you. And the sergeant of arms in the D.C. legislature said that's not going to happen, or whatever, we call it a legislature in Canada, whatever you Yankees call it. And so Nancy Pelosi put it off. 17 hours after the shit all went down, then finally the National Guard was called out. By then it was far too late. There was needle in the damage. Done. So I am arguing with you, Vinyl Gorilla, the point that Trump is doing a preemptive clean up the street situation, because accountability is finally coming. Accountability is finally coming. There can be no doubt that it is. Adam Schiff, breaking over the last few hours, last 48 hours, Schiff charged with treason. I guess we'll start off right away. The number one link is Schiff and treason. Right. We'll find out what he did. And then there's more to it. And it's compounded upon compounded upon compounded. It's absolutely unbelievable what we're seeing. This kind of information could not have come out in 2020. This information can only come out now because Trump's got the right people in place. He's got the power. Trump is moving fast to control the nation and bring about a revolution. What if I were to tell you that an insurrection was already underway, aided and abetted by foreign agents controlling American politicians to take over the United States? Would you believe me? Well, we'll see. All right, here we go. And as always, a refresher. I'll read the thing and then I'll let Sue read the actual coding on it if you're able to. Yeah. These allegations from Dem whistleblower are wild. This from Clandestine, We're Clandestine, an account well worth following. Schiff called a staff meeting, told everyone he's going to leak classified intelligence to harm Trump. Someone pointed out that's treason. Other staffers said not to worry about it because they won't get caught. What? Go ahead, Sue. Read it out for the kids if you're able to.
Yeah, sure. When working in this capacity, I'll just skip over the other parts.
You just say redacted. Wherever you just say redacted.
Okay. Was called to an all-staff meeting by Schiff. In this meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information, which was derogatory to President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. Redacted stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured Redacted that they would not be caught leaking classified information. Redacted was, again, approached about leaking classified information in a separate meeting by unnamed individuals. Redacted believed the discussions believed this activity to be unethical and treasonous. Redacted was concerned about big redaction, redacted employment for guidance on where to report this experience. These discussions led Redacted to contact the FBI regarding his concerns. Redacted had several conversations with 2 unnamed FBI agents related to the matter and was eventually invited to attend a mock.
And then just leave it there. That's all you need. The
Wow.
information there is about intentionally leaking information to harm. Now, I'm going to bring Blake in on this, but I want to read one more because we'll take this in as kind of a full thing. Can you do drawn strike, second to the last, and it's 10 per crime. So this is really important to kind of what kind of consequences is Shifty Schiff facing for this. And this is really significant. Not only is Trump draining the swamp, he's going to cement over it too. Abso-fucking-lutely. All right, here we go. This is significant. Brian Cates writes, note, it's imprisonment for up to 10 years, quote, for each individual classified leak, quote. From this, or unquote, right? From what the whistleblower is describing, this was regular, organized activity by Schiff and his staff and others around him inside the U.S. House. That makes it literally a RICO conspiracy. Praying medic. It appears Schiff will be charged for violating the Espionage Act under the 18 United States Code 798, unauthorized disclosure of classified information. 10-year statute of limitations on each individual count. So 10 years per individual count.
Here's
that
my
he's
question.
leaked.
When did all this leaking happen?
This is all going back 2020. It's all in that time frame. We're well within, and because it's treason, we're talking treason here. There is no, to my understanding, there is no limit, sentencing limit on treason. You've committed treason, you're liable for it at any time. So this is incredible. Blake, I'm of the conviction that this was all planned, that Trump got all this in his sights way back when in 2016, when he first entered the White House. I think he knew what was going on. There was things set up. People were allowed to do. Sure, you want my mugshot? Take my mugshot. Precedent was set. Nobody is above the law. Keep talking, Dems. Keep digging a grave for yourself, because I'm going to bury you. Blake, take it away. A big story here.
Yeah, it's massive. Everything that's been rolling out the last few weeks with all the potential indictments that are going to be rolling out, going from, Obama's administration to the Clintons to all their followers and peons that were working for them, the deep state. But Trump campaigned on this. People need to stop having a meltdown. He said he would drain the swamp because the people were calling for a draining of the swamp. This was even before he became president in 2016. This was the call to drain the swamp. And, so why would anybody be upset that he's doing what he is mandated to do, is to get rid of the criminal element, the deep state criminal element, and get them behind bars. We already know people who commit treason. We have history and records that show what happens to them. I think the last one, remember, there was that, it was a number of years ago, probably 30 years ago, but there, the guy, the family or whatever, there was 2 of them, husband, wife, and apparently went to jail for, basically for life for espionage, helping out the Soviets. So I think, we have lots of precedents, what needs to be done here. I hope that he's successful, and what he said he's going to do. And you mentioned DC bringing in the taking over, federalizing the police force there. I think that's within their jurisdiction. The District of Columbia is a federalized area; it should be allowed. I know the Dems wanted to convert it into a state for obvious reasons. Gives them 2 senators and absolute power, because basically the bureaucracy in the deep state runs. The Democratic Party runs DC. So, I think he's doing what he needs to do. He's got to get these people exposed, get the Adam Schiffs of the world, not only to be convicted, but get them singing too. And as I said that before, we got to get all these people singing and ratting each other out, just like what happened to the mafia.
When does the bird sing, folks? When it's in a cage.
Yeah,
Lock
exactly.
them up. They'll start singing. Blake, I got a quote here. This goes way back to December 10th, 2017. For reasons that are known to those in the know, I'm not going to mention the source, but I will read it. Blunt and direct time. Adam Schiff is a traitor to our country. Leaker. National security. Evil. TikTok. Hope the 7.8 million was worth it. Enjoy the show. This dates December 10th, 2017. So those in the know, if you know, you know. Many of us had our eyes on Schiff for a very long time. What happened at the Standard Hotel, Adam Schiff? Language like that. Schiff.
And why did the managers die in a helicopter crash?
Yeah, there was a helicopter crash. There's all sorts of stuff, right? Yeah. You know, questions.
Questionable happenings.
Okay, now the interesting thing about Adam Schiff and all this is that he thought. Let me get the right one. Yeah, can you do Piero, Martin, and Shift? It sounds like Abraham, Martin, and John. This thing's about 7 links down. Piero, Martin, and Shift. Talk about, out of the frying pan into the fire. Adam Schiff was foremost in stopping Ed Martin from getting nominated as the attorney for a district of Columbia. And in his place, Janine Pirro came in. Well, it turns out now, this from Eric Daughtry, massive development. Adam Schiff is now being invested by none other than U.S. Attorney Judge Janine Pirro, involved in leaking classified info to hurt Trump. Meanwhile, Special Attorney Ed Martin is looking at Schiff for his mortgage fraud. Of all the people in D.C., these are the last two people you want looking into you. He is squirming. So he torpedoed Ed Martin. Now Ed Martin gets to look at anything he wants via the courtesy of a grand jury, which has wide sweeping powers. Unbelievable. The hammer of justice is weighing heavy on Adam Schiff. He's in deep trouble. And I don't think he's getting out of it. Blake, any thoughts on Pirro and Ed Martin being the two that are going to be figuratively tying the noose around this character?
Well, I suspect they're going to do exactly what they were hired to do. They're going to go after these criminals and or allegedly, I guess, as criminals. But we're seeing the evidence now; it's everywhere. They'll get them, and I think there's nothing more to to address here now because the evidence is pouring out left, right, and center. What needs to be addressed is when is the court date? I think that's what everybody wants now. Let's see them in court.
Yeah. So can you bring up Schiff and Sperry? One more item on this that will do. It's called Schiff and Sperry. It's about 3 up from the bottom in the links there. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today. Blake and I do this show twice a week. We do it 12 noon on Tuesday, 12 noon. We'll be back on Friday following this. Give us a thumbs up. They really help us out. Subscribe if you're new around here. And we got more to bring in. Now, this is a really interesting as well. Paul Sperry was the reporter who outed the name of the impeachment whistleblower Adam Schiff was hyping, so he was a thorn in Schiff's side. And here he's sending an embarrassing letter to Twitter saying we want his account removed. This is from Matt Taibbi. So we won't play it or we won't do anything on that level. Suffice to say, it shows the corruption and the influence of politicians to work hand in hand with media, reporters, some of them falsely attributed Pulitzer Prizes.
So this was the fake whistleblower, right?
The fake whistleblower on Trump. It's all set up. It's a wrap-up smear. You create a lie, you feed it to the press, it comes back to the politician, so then the politician can go, oh, I don't know. I only know what I read in the papers. Concerning if true. And whatever lie you want to make up. I'm telling you, man, this kind of corruption is coming home to roost. Canada is no stranger to this kind of corruption. Our media, it walks hand in hand with our government just the same way as it works. It works all over the world this way. In first world nations, third world nations, it's corruption that is off the scale. But it looks as though finally, finally, the wheels of justice, however slow they move, are actually moving. And we got some real heavy hitters that are sitting there swinging the bat, taking some warm-up swings, getting ready to knock this out of the park. And some of these trials, not all of them, but some of them, are going to be in states and controlled by prosecutors that really want to see justice done. Blake, from this, any thoughts on that? And then after that, I'd like you to comment on Trump's actions in District of Columbia, bringing in the National Guard, federalizing D.C. because the problems there are off the charts. And is there a possibility, as I feel, that there's more than meets the eye to this? Transformers, robots in the skies. Transformers, Trumpy Bear in disguise. He's got something else planned and controlling the population in case things get really crazy. If we see some high-profile arrests, what do you do if Barack Obama's in chains? Or Joe Biden, or all these people, Hillary Clinton.
God forbid,
name your
criminal. Well, I think we know if any of those people get arrested, that their peons are already organizing mass disobedience and protests. So I'm sure that's another reason why you have to get control of those police forces, because they're essentially the neo-Confederates have been doing this for a while. They did. I mean, we just have to look back at the Summer of Love, right? They jokingly call it. The BLM riots of 2020. These people can be mobilized, and but hopefully most of their funding arms have been chopped off. But there's still, I'm sure, money left behind, hidden in pots that are able to do that.
I love what you said. Their funding's been cut off. Maybe that's part of the strategy. Get the National Guard in, get their finances cut, really start clipping and hindering and limiting their ability to cause what Maxine Waters has called for, a civil war.
Yeah.
If you can believe it. I mean, that kind of rhetoric. And I love what Sue writes here, quote, no civil unrest. That's the president talking. He won't allow for it. So we've got it in control. Patriots in control. It's not going to be allowed.
Nobody's going to complain if people want to go protest peacefully, but what they were doing was trashing, destroying cities, and burning things down. That's what the neo-Confederate Democrats do.
Yeah,
and I think we're going to see we would see it on a level that we couldn't even imagine.
Well, they tried, right? We saw that in L.A., right, over the ICE going after ICE. We saw how they activate these groups to become extremely violent. They are like terror cells, essentially. They're holdovers. They're funded to create chaos. And this is not some conspiracy theory. This is proven. They've found all the funding sources. They know the different organizations that have received the money and then fund these operations, just like the mass migration movements from Central America and the caravans that were pouring up over during Biden's years. They were being funded by organizations. It wasn't just some spontaneous groups of people leaving. It was actually funded. And that's the difference.
Yeah. Blake, give me an estimate. How many illegals are crossing the border right now in America?
Apparently to Trump, he's saying there's zero, but I'm sure there's a few crawling across here and there, but not anywhere near where it was. They've definitely they've buttoned it up. The hatches are battened. I think they've done what they need to do to put a stop to that. But again, you don't see millions of people clamoring to get into the U.S. illegally anymore. Now they got the big golden door, right? Come through the door illegally.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing is that we're seeing mass deportations under their own auspices. We've seen them, like 1 million people have self-deported out of California. Blake, what I'm trying to say in this is that how long did it take Trump to get control of the border? How long's he been in office?
Oh, he got control of it under 6 months. I mean, that was like right away. It was right away. So it shows that Biden and his administration did it purposely.
Give me your best. Give me. I'm going to throw a pitch. I'm going to get ready.
Okay.
Just take a few practice, loosen up.
No softballs.
I'm going to pitch it. I'm going to spitball it. Here we go. How long do you think Trump's going to take, or can he get DC under control? And if he can, how long do you think it was going to take him?
I think similar. I think because the police apparently are backing. We're talking the police force, the DC police force is
Yeah.
saying they support it. Obviously, they know that there's
You're
rot
that DC
within
police,
within the municipality side of the management of the city at a local level. So I think it'll be almost overnight. I think the fact is the criminals know that they're going to be targeted now. There's going to be no leniency or even promoting their ability to be disruptive and dangerous. I mean, I think what triggered it, of course, is that the
Big
what
Ball.
finally did it was Big Balls being
Big Balls,
beaten
we
up,
love
protecting somebody being attacked by a mob of gangsters.
Yeah.
So I think, this is kind of reminds you of the 1970s, right? When, America was having similar problems. Their inner cities were turning to hell. I mean, remember all the movies in the early 80s that came out about it? Like Fort Apache, the Bronx, and all,
Bronx.
and stuff like that. Like New York was, and the Warriors, right? From the
Yeah, Warriors. I
Yeah.
got that, man. That's a good movie.
Great movie. But the point was, it was a time where there was mass chaos in the cities.
Yeah.
Crime was rampant. And guess who was in charge? A Democrat. Jimmy Carter, nice guy. But still, the neo-Confederates could not control what was going on in the cities. They're too liberal. They allowed them to fall apart. And sadly, they allow it. Now is New York going to hire an absolute far-left Marxist to become their mayor? I don't think Trump will allow that. I think that guy's going to disappear quickly because I don't think he's going to run when he knows he won't be able to have his criminal element continue to operate the city.
There's some calls that he entered the states illegally himself when he first applied and stuff. So, I mean, there's pressure coming all over. Some high-profile types are taking him on. You were talking just seconds ago about the police in D.C. President of D.C. Police Union has come out in full support of President Trump's takeover of the police department. Quote, "We completely agree with the president. The crime in the District of Columbia is out of control and something needs to be done. The fact that we need help from federal law enforcement and maybe even the National Guard should not be a surprise." You can play the clip, Sue. Well, our beloved president.
President Trump earlier saying he's deploying the National Guard to the nation's capital and placing police under federal control now. Let's bring in D.C. Police Union Chairman Gregory Pemberton. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. So from your view, is this necessary?
Well, look, we completely agree with the president that crime in the District of Columbia is out of control and something needs to be done with it. We have to go back to how we got here, though. In 2020, the D.C. City Council passed an enormous amount of legislation that handcuffs police officers, exposes them to administrative, civil, and even criminal liability, even when they do their jobs properly. And now, 5 years later, our authorized sworn strength is 4,000 sworn police officers. We currently have 3,180. So we have more than 800 vacancies for the position of police officer. And the way the department makes up for that gap is through 2 million hours of mandatory overtime every year. So the fact that we need help from federal law enforcement and maybe even the National Guard, it shouldn't come as a surprise, and we agree with that. I think one of the issues here, though, is that we all know that's going to be temporary. So in order to fix this problem and make sure that it doesn't ebb and flow and that the feds come in and we lower crime and then they leave and we're left holding the bag, it's very important that people know that there is underlying legislation that needs to be corrected so that we can actually properly staff this police department in order to properly police the city. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, really good. So
They
really
have, laws they need to change.
Okay. Yeah, this was being mentioned, and they were at the podium yesterday. Yeah. Trump was there with Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and some other significant. Pete Hegseth was there covering the National Guard portion of things. The laws have to change, right? And would you think they can do it? Is that even possible at this point? I mean, it's that's a real head scratcher. It's a very difficult one.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what laws need to be changed. I'm not that. Have to look to what the legal scholars.
Well, one of them is they can release you on probation for even violent crime. Like you do something, they catch and release you. Out you go the next.
Well, but sometimes that's just purely activist judges not enforcing the full extent of the law. They're just doing fractional portions of it, and so these people are getting out. We've seen that here in the progressive hell of British Columbia, where the criminals they go in, they get captured by the police, and it's catch and release. It's like, it's like fishing, and you're not keeping the fish. You're just letting them back out again all the time. So this is the problem with progressive cities, is that they've got this philosophy. And here's the problem. And Trump, hopefully this is part of cleaning up the act, is you got to change the philosophy. The philosophy is that somehow criminals are victims of society. You know, they have downgraded the actual criminal victims to allow criminals to be treated as victims, that somehow their actions were created by some harm that was done to them in life, right? And I think that's, you know, whatever it might be a social reason, because maybe they're the color of their skin or whatever it might be. It could be that they were abused by their parents, or, you know, that, you know, the church did something to them or whatever. There's always an excuse. A liberal's going to find out, some progressives, liberals going to be, well, you know, they didn't have a chance at life, so we're going to be very, you know, we'll be lenient with them and give them a swat on the wrist, even though they just bashed some granny's skull in for her purse, right? And I think that's the problem. I think there's an institutionalized rot, not just a deep state side of it. That is a bigger story. But there is a philosophical rot that has literally flipped the script on what bad people are, and versus what are good and lawful people. And essentially they've blurred it. They basically have converted the lawful people are the bad people, and the bad people are just victims of an oppressive patriarchal society. And that's the insanity that
I love what you're saying there, Blake. There is a story. Now I've got another computer, so if people were looking at me kind of, what are you doing out there? I pulled up another story. This is on X, and also, you know how this computer that I have, pretty weak in the legs. It doesn't have a lot of power. So I've got another computer that I can turn to if a story comes into my mind.
Yeah.
It goes, this from Antifa Public Watch official. Let's not forget, Labor counselor made threats to kill people who spoke out about illegal immigration, terrorism, and, well, he uses the R word of Britain, you know, the sexy R word of Britain. The same people who Keir Starmer labels far right. So this radical labor councilman used very strong language about killing people that are, you know, speak out, have some concerns about England and the out of control immigration there. He's on trial now, like they're actually trying. Keep in mind that a woman is in 18 months in jail. They sentenced her for 18 months. She got sentenced for something very similar, but on the right side of the equation. So, but this guy is already coming out saying, it's not my fault. It's a product. I was raised poor, and I've suffered racism and prejudice. And so it's out of that matrix that I'm expressing my ill-founded feelings towards others. Right. So,
yeah.
Well,
I think some of the points, I'm not sure what KRWD's, what his point is there. Is he talking about the January 6th protests or just protests in general? But yeah, the problem with the capital city protest is that they have a ready-made crowd at their fingertips, because just about every government city, just about all of them, are dominated by left-wing progressives. And that's because they run the civil service. So they could just snap their fingers, open up the doors, and the civil service walks out, and all of a sudden you have already made 20,000 people on the street, or 40,000 people. We saw that here in BC in the early 80s during the Bennett years, when he brought in, he was going to try and remove the civil service from being unionized. And all of a sudden the NDP and their cohorts in the civil service pulled out 25,000 people from the local buildings, the workers that work for the government. And that's the problem, is the entire workforce, for the most part, not all, I'd say there's a smaller, I think that the percentages I've seen is anywhere between 80 to 90% vote Democrat or left-wing parties, or around, 20 to 10% vote maybe the opposite of them. But the point is that they have this built-in apparatus of people that can show up and protest with the snap of their fingers. The unions pay for it. These NGOs that we talked about earlier got defunded and pay for it. So I think that I think there's a lot of problems that still needs to be cleaned up. And I think Trump's going to start. Let's start with cleaning up the cities. We need to look presentable as our capital city for the entire world. We need a city that is welcoming to people, because we are open for business. We don't want it looking like a cesspool, and we don't want people visiting our major the capital city, maybe the most powerful city in the world, to look like a drunken slum, right? And I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's cleaning up. As he said in his story, I was listening to him talk about his dad teaching him, like, don't ever go to a restaurant with a dirty door, because if the door is dirty, the rest of it's not clean. You got to have pride and care in what you own. And the people of DC, if you live there, man, you should be wanting it clean and not full of crime. And why would you support?
Well, I'm sure the people of DC want this. It's the politicians that don't.
Yeah, the left organized. There's paid protesters and like too.
Yeah,
there's issue. You got people like Vinyl Gorillas. Like, this is Trump overreach.
Well, there's a poverty industry, right, that's tied to these guys, and we see it in every major progressive city. There's an industry tied to keep people in poverty, and that keeps them employed, and it gets them to expand their bureaucratic empires. So knowing at a local level, they do. They don't want it cleaned up because they make money off of it being problematic.
Yes, they do. Correct, Blake. Very good point.
That's the same with homelessness.
Same kettle.
That's why they call it the poverty industry. They keep people perpetually in poverty, and then they expand it. Like here, they've done in British Columbia. Let's expand fentanyl. Let's expand free clinics to go do drugs and shoot up clinics, and the government provides you the drugs.
Well, this is what you're talking about.
It gets everybody addicted, right? And this is the problem. DC and many of the progressive cities have that same people with the same philosophy.
Yeah, they tend to enable rather than try and dissuade from it and control it. Okay, Blake, this is, I like to do some from the sublime to the ridiculous. There's always a couple of ridiculous stories. One of the things state has to do, and we're going to turn to the dumpster fire behind you there shortly, dealing with Canada and our forests again, making more news. That the story refuses to go away. Big story there. But two stories out of England. Okay, two stories out of England. One is, this is called jogging. Let's just roll the tape. It says here, the UK is leading the world in stupid. Australia is desperate to follow. So let's take a look and see what the hell's going on here. Make her big and roll the tape.
These women aren't friends out for a run. They're actually undercover police officers taking to the streets in Surrey as part of a new operation trying to stop people catcalling and harassing female runners.
We get honked at, the staring, the hanging out of the window just to look at us, and it's so prevalent.
And police teams are ready to intervene the moment the officers are beeped at, followed or shouted at, pulling people over.
Those kind of behaviours may not be criminal offences in themselves, but they still need to be addressed. And of course, the people that are likely to commit those kind of behaviours, they may then go on to commit more serious offences or more serious behaviours.
These women aren't friends.
Well, all right. So, okay, that's
retard alert. Retard alert.
Okay, retard alert.
This is because England has become quite rapey.
England's become rapey because there are problems, right? There's problems.
Well, maybe that should have been the story, right? Yeah. That should have been the story. Where there's been a series of rapes. We're going to try and trap these guys, right? I mean that.
The last one is called hijab there.
The beginning of the video, though, the beginning of that video, if that was Canada, how dare they be running in the forest or in the woods?
Well, we're going to get to our sacred forests and kind of the game there. I'm hoping you'll be able to play it. It was kind of looping on me, Sue. It wouldn't quite play.
What am I looking for?
Okay, this one is Basil the Great. 2 UK female officers decide to try on hijabs. Then they convert to Islam.
Okay,
it's scary how willing some people. I'll see if I can play the clip.
In the links.
Okay, let me see if I can play this thing. Okay, here we go. Hold on. I got it here.
I found it.
Okay, well, can you play the link? All right. She's got it. So two English. This is propaganda, obviously, right? You got the female cops going, hey, Islam is our friend. So rather than police a damn thing, have you got it or not there, baby?
No, it won't.
Okay,
No.
I'll take it on. Okay, hold on, everybody. Let's go shopping. Blake, you get excited when you see the police trying on their hijabs? I know I do. Okay, here we go. They're all big. Here, let's roll the tape. Okay, here we go. And get the volume up. And okay, let me refresh this one. Okay, come on, play the tape. Let her rip. Holy smokes. All right. Got the beautiful Islamic music. Lovely. Officer Cranberry there. I'm going to convert to Islam. Sure, you can become a Muslim. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely fantastic. All right. So that's just fantastic. Congratulations to our officers in England as they convert to Allah, Islam, the Prophet. I am so excited. I know you're excited. Doesn't it warm the cockles of your heart? You know, when I'm out jogging in my hijab, I know I feel better knowing that I've got my local mosque supporting me from any harassing calls. Holy shit. There is no end to the lunacy.
Yep.
You know, we like to, you know, apart from the serious stuff we cover, there is the, you know, from the sublime to the ridiculous. We do cover it all, Blake.
Well, wait. Today's modern liberals are not liberals. There is a serious problem with them in their thinking, but that's just too funny. I would almost was going to say, was that a made up video? Like, was that real? I mean, if that was, that just it's so, we see this all the time now. This sort of absolute hypocrisy these liberals live under. Like, here they are, would be condemning any fundamentalist religion like that. You know, and I'm thinking is, I wonder when she gets to her first chance to stone somebody in the square. I'm sure she's excited about that.
When she gets her first beating.
Her first beating, whatever the hell.
That's right.
Well, let's proceed with caution. Remember, we are on YouTube, gang, so we want to remain on YouTube if we can for at least a little longer. But it's amazing. Okay, let's do. There's so many great stories. Okay. Here's a one-off. I'm just going to do this. It's my own comment to myself is show this without any comment whatsoever. So I'm going to show the link. I'm going to share it, and we're not going to comment on it, Blake. We're just going to quietly. This is from our good friend Cat Turd. We'll let the story speak for itself. Okay, here we go. Let's go big. There we go. Okay, let's just go. The thing Democrats say never happens just happened again. All right. And I'll make that a little larger if I can for everybody's perusal. Okay. Oh, oh my God. All right. So anyway, moving on. We got more stories to cover, but the thing that never happens happened again. Okay, we got trouble. I want to see the big thing. Let's go for a walk in the park. Okay, this one's entitled Break a Leg. It's number 4 down from the top. So I want to thank Sue for bringing in all these links for us. It really does help and makes our job easier for me and Blake. So we're going to do this. The narrative is changing, Blake. Remember Nova Scotia, the fires, the concern you cannot go for a hike in the woods. They're going to charge you $28,000.
Well, they said 25,000, but they have victim taxes.
We got it. You're victimizing people, and so we're going to go into the woods for a little bit. So if you're afraid of the woods, please bear with us. We're going to try and get out sooner than later.
Well, especially your own runners, because your running shoes might light the forest on fire.
It could do it.
Otherwise, you can take a horse into the woods.
You cannot.
I mean, you're not on your own.
Well, I'm going to tell you about something about that later. We got a story on that.
Okay.
Guys, they're just doing this for your own good. Roll eyes. Do you believe this? Unbelievable. Premier of New Brunswick, Susan Holtz, explains why she had to ban hiking. If you hurt yourself, quote, we won't be able to come and get you. Let's find out what's going on.
Me going for a walk in the woods is going to cause a fire. I can understand why people think that that's ridiculous. But the reality is it's not that you might cause a fire. It's that if you're out there walking in the woods and you break your leg, we're not going to come and get you because we have emergency responders that are out focused on a fire that is threatening the lives of New Brunswickers. And if you take your boat out fishing in a pond in Crown Land and you capsize, we're not going to be able to come and help you out because our first responders are focused on an immediate and serious threat to our province. And so it's the possibility of diverting emergency resources away from where they are really needed. But me going for a walk in the woods is going to cause a fire. I can understand why people...
Okay, so... What do you think about that, Blake? You must be.
I've been going at her and Tim Houston all weekend. These people are complete and absolutely fabricating bullshit, and they're basically changing the narrative because they know the fact is, as a former firefighter myself, I fought forest fires in the 1980s. I have never once heard of somebody taking a walk in the woods with runners is going to start a fire, or somebody going fishing in a lake or in a river is going to start a fire. Now, do people who are doing that could start a fire? Yes, when they start a fire. When there's a fire ban, I think we can all agree, no open fire bans, we can agree. Yeah, sometimes you can ban access to certain vehicles because certain vehicles can start fires. They create sparks. And if
I hear Pintos are particularly bad.
But what's amazing, they've gone from you hikers, it's to mitigate risk because all of you cannot be trusted as human beings because we did live in a once liberal democracy. We now live in a fascist society where the society can't be trusted. So when the government is now telling you cannot be trusted, that says why should you trust the government? But what's even more telling about that conversation, none of the people that would be fighting forest fires would be there fighting forest fires, such as ambulance workers, paramedics, doctors, nurses, police. It's bloody ridiculous what she's trying to say. If you broke a leg in the lake, nobody's going to come get you. I have never seen ambulance workers, paramedics lining up to put out a fire. They just don't. That's not their skill set. That's not what they're trained to do. Search and rescue teams, no, they have their specific agenda. They would go get it. The worst thing, what made me roll my eyes, she called the forest not in that comment, but if you listen to the whole presentation, she says, when the rain comes, she called the forest they. I didn't know the forest identifies as a they, them. They now have a pronoun. So this is how ridiculous these people.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, you got to listen. She actually called the forest a they. When they get rain, the forest is a they, them. I guess it could. So I told Tim, or not Tim, the Easley gentleman, I said, why don't you identify as a tree? Because, it's all neutral. I mean, people are identified as cats and dogs. They're getting kitty litter put in their schoolrooms to put the kids that want to identify as a cat or a dog. Identify as a tree. Maybe they'll bring in a planter for you. But the point is, it's just gone to the ridiculous. But all the talking points are it's recycled from the disease we shall not name that happened a couple years ago. They're using the same logic, the same retarded logic, telling people that you cannot be trusted and why, and they don't understand why people are mad. And I think you're about to play why they think they're mad, because they don't trust the government, because Trudeau, our former prime minister, said this. Go ahead and play it.
I want to thank Blake for bringing this to our attention. I wasn't aware that he had even said this, but Don Cummings writes, just in case you don't think the Nova Scotia ban is the first rollout of, quote, climate lockdowns, right out of the mouth of the village idiot, a.k.a., Justin Trudeau. I just remind you what Trudeau said in 2021. We'll make them big and we'll play the clip.
What we learned from this COVID crisis we will be applying to the climate crisis. What we learned from this COVID crisis, we will be applying to the climate crisis. What we learned.
Okay, so what he's saying there, what we learned, what did we learn? Well, you got to have lockdowns and shut people away and get control of the population. So he says, coming with the climate crisis, we're going to do the same thing. It looks like this is a logical extension of that.
Well, even the language, because I've been battling the retarded left-wing dingbats that are supporting all of this crap, and it's the same people that wear their masks while driving in a car alone. They're all madcaps, and they're trying to and you watch them talk to each other, and they're using the same lingo. They're telling us, stay safe, stay safe. There's no fire, folks. What they're talking about is areas where there is no fires. Where there is a fire, stay away. It's pretty simple. You don't go hiking in the woods around a forest fire because, yeah, you're going to get in the way and you could get hurt. But this is not a ban on access to a forest that's burning. This is a ban on activities that do not cause a fire. They're just saying that society, you cannot be trusted. You are the problem.
Okay.
And that is the fundamental difference. That's the same arguments they used during the lockdown period.
Who can be? Okay, Blake, hold on. Now, if the average Canadian's not allowed access, who can be trusted to enter the forest under any condition? What particular, can you think of somebody that might be allowed in there?
Indigenous people.
What? The man, ding, ding, ding. What's this? In Nova Scotia, it turns out forests only catch fires if you're not Indigenous. Canada's officially become a parody of itself. The Mikisew played to go on in Halifax Park after whatever. I don't speak the language. After Nova Scotia wildfire restrictions caused uncertainty. So I guess the show must go on.
Interesting. Did you leave it up?
Okay, go on. What do you got?
See the comment underneath?
That makes sense.
Like 2020 during the pandemic, Black Lives Matter protests. Feel free to protest despite that. Small business, how dare you? You're killing grandma.
Yeah. Same plan, same.
So anyway, very interesting, Adi. That
even I think Cat Turd was jumping on this whole thing going on in Canada. He's been doing it.
Because we're so stupid up here. He can't help but comment and notice all the ridiculous goings-ons with the political class in Canada and all the commie behaviors that our, quote, leaders are doing. Tell me a bit about your theory about Carney, about his Schiff.
I do have a theory behind this because I got caught up in all this too, and I'm thinking, I'm hopped up mad because as a former forest fire fighter, trained, I have my fire suppression training, I've had all the training, I know causation, and there is no history of anybody walking causing a fire outside of lighting up a cigarette and tossing their butt into the bush, right? That can start a fire. So yeah, irresponsible people. But the point is that I know that it's just not possible. There's accidents that could happen. Yeah, metal scraping on rock or something like that, but it's so rare. It would be 1 in a trillion. We'd have more likely to start a fire from, a deer kicking a rock down the side of it by accident down a cliff, and it creates a spark like flint. That could potentially do it, but that would still be extremely rare. But the point is, watching all this roll out late last week, but what was happening in the last few weeks, the last couple weeks, the Liberals, the Federal Liberal Party of Canada, Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, the globalist in general, is completely failing, collapsing on the world stage. He can't get a deal done with Trump. He can't get a deal done. He gets humiliated sending his top 2 ministers to go do a side deal with Mexico. Mexico basically tells him politely, no, thank you, but probably better words, probably F off. We're not going to get into that fight.
Yeah, we got repulsed or rebuffed by Italy as well. Same thing. We sent a couple over there.
And then the EU does the same thing. They do a deal with Trump as well. Japan does a deal with Trump. Indonesia does a deal with Trump. Philippines, everyone's doing deals with Trump. everyone for the most part, except for two major countries.
Who are those countries, Blake?
China and Canada.
Okay, yeah, but hold on, Blake. You aren't going to tell me that China isn't going to turn its back on Canada. Wait, what's this? And if the world smells blood in the water,
yeah,
China imposes a 75%, 70 points, almost 76% duty on Canadian canola, prompting industry calls for federal subsidies. This is happening just as the crops are ripening and they're ready for the harvest. And then China says, oh, okay, this is devastating, this complete industry. We're getting killed with steel by the Americans. What in the world?
And I think this is all part of the whole story, right? The mass psyop distraction. Tim Houston, who's tied to those Bermuda or Bermuda billionaires,
Barbados,
Barbados, or it's more. I think it's more the Bermuda, where all the English offshore money is being held.
Well, there's a lot of money laundering over there.
Yeah, and they're international banks that manage billions and billions and trillions of dollars in assets there. They don't pay taxes. But, Tim, the premier of Nova Scotia, is all buddy with those guys because his neighbors are like the guys from Loblaws and et cetera, et cetera. But he just came out with there was a story just near the end of July where he's now completely bent the knee to Carney, saying he's all in on Carney. So for those that don't understand Canada, the Maritimes are essentially, or for the most part, are dependent provinces. They live off of what's called equalization payments. That's money that's transferred from the wealthier provinces through the federal government to the almost perpetually dependent provinces. And Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI are always in there. Newfoundland was in there too, but ever since they got Hibernia oil and they started producing oil off the shore, they were starting to make money. But the point is that's where this is all taking place. So it's a simple phone call, in my opinion. We need to get the population off our backs because we're failing at all levels. Canada is being literally boxed in on all sides. It can't trade unless it's really to give it away. So what is Carney's answer to this and these far left lunatics of the Laurentian elite? Well, their monopolies are in danger. This is what it's about. They control these monopolies, these mass monopolies we've talked about on the show many times before. They don't want to lose them. That's what's at play. They know it. And now their answer is to turn into Cuba and say, well, we'll just trade internally. Canada will live almost entirely by self-sustaining itself by trading internally with all of the 10 provinces and 3 territories, and we'll be one big family that's gated in that only trades around our little protected walled garden. Well, folks, how did that do well for Cuba? Cuba is a freaking wreck.
I hear you got a pretty good 54 Ford there.
Yeah. That's right. So here we are going down the path of the Cubanization. So again, the theory is, I'm saying, is this is a mass psyop distraction. Get people fighting over that. It's now the same arguments that we did. It's about safety and security, or selfishness, as they're calling everybody who believes in civil liberties. But the point is that I think now it is a mass distraction. The polls were starting to show, even though I don't believe the Canadian polls, but the Canadian polls were starting to say Carney is starting to lose support. And remember, he still has a minority government, and there's all kinds of chatter underground that he's going to try and push for another election, force one somehow, somebody to get them to vote against them so that they can call an immediate snap election and cause the government to fall so that he can get his majority. And I think that's what's going on. But I still do believe in the end that the goal will be that we'll be in an economic union with the United States at some point within the next 2 years. I think that's Carney's, that's what he's done. He's the receivership judge that's been brought in to do this, and it could only be done from the left. It could not be done for the right because the left is they're too aggro. They're the most violent people in our country, the most violent people in the US, the most violent people in Europe. It is the left. So they're going to come from the left to negotiate, and it's going to be coming across a great deal for Canada, and it will come as some kind of economic unions, I believe, similar to the EU. The fact that Brookfield moved to the U.S. in October, trillion-dollar asset management company like BlackRock and Vanguard, which Carney ran. It's the guy that Trump said he would rather have the liberal guy there. He would be a better negotiator. Again, Trump knows who Carney is. Carney was there, part of the New York elite group, the European elites, all the big banker investment circles. He's one of those guys. However, he is condemned by a lot of politicians from Europe, including the former prime minister of England.
Yeah, Liz, what's her name? Trust or whatever.
Yeah, she's been going all in on him, against him. But I think the fact is that this is a mass distraction. It really is. And Canadians are very easily distracted, right? Because this is what we do. We get our arms up in the air over things that are really in the grander scheme of what's going on, because that's what you should do. As soon as you're being told your eyes go look over there, go look what's going on behind you. That's what we need to be watching right now, because I don't trust these guys. They're going to try and preserve their monopolies, but it's got to be broken. If it fails, Carney will leave. He'll go to the U.S. He'll go to Europe or wherever one of his places, and Canada will become the Venezuela of the North or the Cuba of the North. But I don't think the Americans will allow it. Alberta will leave. Alberta will be gone in a heartbeat. I think Alberta is the catalyst which changes Canada forever. If Alberta is happy and Canada agrees to that, then Canada has a different future with the U.S. But if Alberta is forced to leave, which is what's happening, Alberta joins the U.S., Canada, at least in the West, is finished. It's finished. It will collapse. It will no longer be part of Canada as we know it. It will become essentially part of the U.S.
Yeah, and I think Quebec is going to take that as their ticket out of Canada as well. But
I would sure love to see Trump's guys to come in and do get rid of our deep staters in BC. Maybe get these China people arrested for treason as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, right now, they'd have to do it on that level. Right? Otherwise, it would be foreign interference. Some good news on the economic front. As always, ladies and gentlemen, the tariffs are working, simply put. Just in, President Trump takes a huge victory lap on the economists and experts after the latest inflation report. It's been shown that for the most part, consumers aren't even paying these tariffs. It is mostly companies and governments, many of them foreign, picking up the tabs. But David Solomon and Goldman Sachs refuse to give credit where credit is due, politically motivated. They made a bad prediction a long time ago on both the market repercussion and the tariffs themselves, and they were wrong. Just like they're wrong about so much else. I think that David should go out and get himself a new economist, or maybe he ought to just focus on being a DJ and not bother running a major financial institution. From Donald John Trump. There's his comment. Basically, that was quoting that.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
I'll put a link in.
Just drop a link on the president there. So I went out, Blake, and I looked at the markets today, and everything is up, up, up. The Dow's up, NASDAQ's up. All the indicators are up, up, up. The economy's doing great. And the money that's coming in, Trump says a huge lot. It's a big victory lap for the president. He's proven right. Yeah. And they are now predicting that even the Fed reluctantly, biting and scratching, clawing its way in the fall is going to lower the interest rate. It has to billions of dollars. If they don't, Jerome Powell's in trouble from Trump. He's thinking of suing his ass for hindering the American economy. So that would be malfeasance, incompetence in the job. So
I'd love to hear some Americans tell us what they think of the Federal Reserve being a private corporation. Yeah. That's not part of the American constitutional side. Why doesn't Trump just reconstitute the U.S. dollar? Why does he bring it back to America and get it out of the hands of the private Federal Reserve System? I mean, he would disappear. I'm sure that would be the fear, is what they did to JFK. But the point is that, if they're not going to listen, he just has to say, well, we're just going to reconstitute the dollar. Just like you refederalize the police force in D.C., get the people who are in the way out of the way for America. Because the fact is, the Federal Reserve is not the American dollar. It is a debt note system. It is not a true dollar. And reconstitute the dollar, you get Jerome Powell out of the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that. The ending of the Fed, the end of the IRS, that's also being bandied about by powerful.
Oh, yeah, they're the collection agency for the Federal Reserve. I mean, that's essentially what they are.
I popped a link in about the Fed because it's so hard to understand how that all works. But this is a great video, like the Fed for Dummies kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I popped that in the chat. Also, peace deals, just a list of all the peace deals going on right now.
Yeah, Trump's doing outstanding work there. If the world wasn't so corrupt, Trump would totally have won the Nobel Peace Prize, and Barack Obama would never have won it simply for being a POC, a person of color.
So yeah, if you want to just maybe I'll share that peace deal one because it's such a great note to end on. Maybe. Well,
I got one more. I got my ender because it's 1 o'clock. Here's
we can go over a little bit if you need to. I don't mind.
Check out the peace deal thing for a sec.
All right. I'll just announce it. John Brennan is now former CIA head, is now reported to have left the country. They are running. So we'll see what happens to him.
That means that the special forces can go get him out because it's outside of the country.
Yeah, we'll pop him. Okay, great video on how the reserve works. Peace. Sue's got the link here. All right, here's Trump's peace deals being laid out. Boom. Okay, Sue, take it on. Tell me what we're watching.
Boom. President Trump has officially brokered another peace deal, ending a 30-year conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia, on top of the Congo, Rwanda, India, Pakistan, Israel, Iran, and Thailand, Cambodia. At what point does he get the Nobel Peace Prize? So I won't play the video or whatever. It's just another brokered deal here. And it's just really exciting to see.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the whole idea about the Peace Prize, it means nothing. All these awards, they give people Nobel Peace Prize, the Oscar, the Emmy Award, all this stuff, it's meaningless. The Freedom of the America Freedom Award medal, that Barack Obama was giving out like candy.
Yeah.
All these honorariums. The same thing in Canada with the Order of Canada. They'll give it to anybody these days.
Yep.
And so they don't mean anything. It's part of the elites and how they reward themselves, a pat on the back. And for us peons in the trenches, the peasantry, it's in order to legitimize the things that shouldn't be legitimized at all. It's just propaganda, psyops, legitimation. Yep. And I reject them all outright. And somebody wisely said, to hell with the Nobel Peace Prize. Just take your victory lap before the Lord God in heaven, that you are saying, blessed are the peacemakers. They shall be called the children of God.
Store your treasures in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah. A great note to leave on. So, ladies and gentlemen, Blake and I will be back on Friday for another running show. I'm on later today with my Patreon show. It is a public broadcast, so anybody can tune in and watch it. And Blake, any last words from your end of things?
No, as the world churns, we'll be here.
Smoke them if you got them.
Got them. Yeah. Pull out your popcorn.
Yeah. Give us thumbs up, and that'll be the deal. Thanks, everybody. And we